Hello everyone, welcome back to the July 29th League of Legends DFS Esports Breakdown. Pretty important slate, although the games are not the best. This is the slate where the Summer Slam tickets or whatever the, big summer event for DK is supposed to be going down tonight. Slate is not exciting, but, it's... If you guys are like me and have been picking up the tickets for this slate all throughout the past couple of months or so, this is going to be a pretty interesting night. 20K up top. I believe it's a $15 entry. But again, I've just been kind of hoarding tickets from the past couple of months or so. I typically do not like to play these things, but if you win a $15 shot at 20K for the dollar or whatever, $4 maybe, tournaments that satellites that I won, so small shots here. I believe I accrued 8 tickets in it, so pretty weird to think about having 8 entries into a $15 for $20K up top. Obviously not expecting to win it, but I would never have entered that myself, so that's just why it's odd. But yeah, off the top, I forgot to open Bovada to look at the esport or to look at the lines. But it doesn't take much to look at the line or to look at the team names and realize kind of the state of the slate. So right off the bat, KDF minus 240 versus Frederick Brion, Dom 1 minus 350 versus KT. Top Esports and Weibo are both over 8,000 favorite versus their opposition here. So pretty tragic slate. Again, this is something I looked ahead for and made a note of. That this slate was going to be pretty bad, so I stopped getting tickets for it, but I was already too late for it. But yeah, we'll start off in the LPL as we typically do. Actually, we could recap yesterday actually real quick, just look at scoreboards and stuff. So I do think we had a couple of interesting games to take note of. So IG ended up getting the 2-1 over Ultra Prime. We were on the correct side of that one. IG, the slight underdog, got the job done. And then the slight underdog of the BLG made FPX look pretty foolish. Weiwei looked pretty strong in the series. I don't know. We did have a lot of question marks in the BLG FPX series. So this is not the most surprising result, although it definitely does not feel good. We definitely were on the wrong side of it. I liked FPX in that one. Obviously, they didn't get the job done. BLG looked pretty decent. It's definitely a little bit of a tough one in the sense of I was pretty low on FPX when they were bad. I was pretty high on them when they were good. So it seems like we were on the right side of FPX for a good portion of the year, or the split at least, I should say. And I definitely had the kind of feeling that maybe yesterday was the time to jump off of them again. However, I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. The BLG side just seemed still too bad. But they managed to pull it together. BLG finally, for at least one series, looked like the team that we kind of anticipated when we looked at the names on the team. Weiwei's finally had a pretty solid series. Doggo and Crisp, although they actually didn't do too much. It was mostly through Jungler, through Weiwei playing very well. Bin played very well. It was mainly those two. Icon, Doggo, and Crisp just kind of did enough, but did their role. They got carried, which is oddly enough, crazy enough to say that it is a skill in doing so, but it is what it is. We move on to tomorrow, so we look ahead to it. Again, 2 minus 1,000 favorites in the LPL. I just have a hard time making a case here, really, for either of these sides. We'll go series by series, real quick. Either way. Top Esports Thunder Talk. Honestly, yeah, the line does seem a little crazy here. Like, I do think TT have been playing a little bit better as of late. I don't think they're quite the complete pushover, which is kind of, I feel, how this line is priced. feels like they're pricing TT in this one as a very bad team. But it's just kind of, in reality, we do have Top Esports probably as the number one or the number two team. I do think I think we do have kind of a big three here, big four here, maybe a big five if you want to put EDG in that category. I definitely would not. Definitely feels like JDG, Top Esports, V5, and RNG are kind of in a small class of their own. They are the four that have already qualified for for a solid playoff seeding. They are in playoffs. I don't know. I just feel like TT are kind of getting written off a little bit here in this one. They are continuing to run back this roster of Hoya, Beishuan, Yucal, Kepler, and Yao Yao. I think this is actually a relatively decent team. I feel like they've been stepping up a little bit as of late. Obviously, their results are not impressive. I do think, again, this is all pretty relative to expectation. We're talking about TT, who is essentially a bottom three or bottom five team for the past year or two, maybe, or something like that. Their past few series, they got the win over FPX, obviously looking a little bit more or looking less impressive, like with how FPX have been playing as of late. Not a huge result. A 2-1 loss to Weibo, not a terrible result. A 2-1 win over OMG, pretty decent as well. And then a 1-2 defeat to AL. So they've gone to 3 in their past 6 games, actually, all the way back to the IG series and the BLG series. But that was a long time ago. I think even a different roster they were playing with. So, again, I mean, within the context of the league, this is how I typically break things down and how I look at some of these games. Do I think like the number 2 team in the LPL is a -1,000 favorite that much better than like the 8th, 9th best team in the LPL? Probably not. Do I think Top Esports probably go ahead and just win this series 2-0, maybe 2-1? Maybe they drop a game. TT have been able to take games off of many teams as of late. I wonder when's the last time they got 0-2'd by EDG and JDG and V5. So, TT's run has been pretty crazy. I'd honestly say that they are definitely in a pretty good spot to try and claim one of these playoff spots here. It's going to be a pretty interesting race coming down to BLG, FPX, TT, LNG, OMG, AL, like all of 5 or 6 of these teams playing for these 4 playoff spots is going to be pretty interesting. I do fancy TT's chances to get to do that. I do think they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. They probably lose this Top Esports match. I'm stopping myself before I go on a different tangent. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. If I think Top Esports is probably like a number 2 team in the league, and I think TT is probably like a top 8, top 9, maybe top 10, but like in the playoff team, do I think they should be a -1,000? Probably not. And that's kind of what it comes down to for me. It's very hard to make a case here that I see TT being able to win this series. I could definitely see it going 3, maybe being a little bit closer than the odds suggest, but TT winning the series, I don't know, that's just a stretch too far for me. So I will be going TT 2-1. And then obviously I'll bring up the stats here. This is on paper the most action-packed series by a little bit of a margin here as well. Mainly when we do look on the TT side, their kills per minute and average game time are pretty high. Both of those things set up pretty well for TT scoring, for Top Esports scoring pretty decently in a victory. So that's definitely something worth noting and keeping in mind. It's really hard to make any argument other than I think Top Esports is probably almost a requirement to play. Weibo LGD. This is where I do think it gets a little bit more interesting. Again, Weibo -1,100, even a bigger favorite than Top Esports TT. Obviously, the differentiator here is that LGD They are probably like a bona fide bottom 3, bottom 4 team. And Weibo are probably in this like top 6 area. Definitely feels like there's a decent segment of top 4. Weibo EDG are probably in like a solid like middle, not quite there, but middle tier here, and then everybody else down here. The gap between these two teams is pretty large. Definitely, can definitely agree with the price and see why it is priced as such. The hesitancy here of why I'm not in love with the Weibo side, although I do think they are again a pretty solid option to go with. I just have some hesitancy with Weibo. Their inconsistencies, and just how they've been dropping some of these games as of late. Obviously, they 2-0'd OMG last time out. Definitely game 1, they definitely could have lost. It definitely felt like OMG were the driver's seat up until like the time that they weren't. And then game 2, obviously we saw what they did to Cream. It's just a little bit of an interesting one. I just have a feeling that this one is closer than the odds are. Sorry, my voice is getting a little raspy already. I don't know. I wish I could have like a little bit more of a reasoning to it. I think it's definitely me overrating LGD a good bit. But on the same hand, I definitely am very real with. I think that they are a bottom 3 team. It's definitely easy to think of them playing pretty decent as of late when it's been. They barely got a 2-1 over WE. They got swept by EDG. They played Ultra Prime and BLG and FPX in like close series, but never took any of them off. So for that reason, I definitely think that this is just like a little bit more of a dart throw situation where I could definitely see the scenario where TT do decently enough, but I don't think Top Esports would give up that much, and I definitely don't know if TT have enough to like win the series. This is where it comes down to like the DraftKings more focus comes to, like if we are talking about the big DK tournament tonight. I would be more willing to throw in a dart throw with the likes of an LGD versus Weibo here. Like again, we just talked about Weibo's. They drop games. They're pretty inconsistent. They just kind of always play to their opponent's level. Granted, they typically win the series. They take it in 3, but like they dropped a game to IG, dropped a game to WE, dropped a game to RA. There was another one in here. Dropped a game to BLG, dropped a series to AL, dropped a game to TT. Like, we just don't see Weibo get these 2-0s. Sorry. And when it comes down to not having to play around the sweet bonus, we can see these scenarios come through where we do have these teams score enough in their wins to justify it. I think we have seen some Weibo losses that have been pretty crazy on the scoreboard. I think we've seen some LGD wins have some upside. So this is a dart throw. This is something where I think the possibility of LGD scoring enough in a 1-2 map 3 defeat is up there. Like how we've seen in the last couple of series with Team WE. Like Team WE's lost both of their last 2 series, but they've still scored enough on the DK side to be a not bad play. I could see something similar here with LGD, with them losing in 3 and being close enough and doing enough, especially when we look at some of the like condensed, I think, performances that we've seen from LGD, where we've seen bigger where we're seeing like bigger performances from people like Asum and occasionally Hai Chao, sometimes Jin Zhao. Like we've seen some of these things happen, and I'm not too afraid of the Weibo bottom lane. You know, as much as Angel and SOFM made Cream look silly last time out, again, I'm not. You know, we've seen Cream and his champion pool problems, you know, happen for a while. Um, we know the Shy is wildly up and down, so we could definitely see him be problematic and lose a game here. So all these things, I just I don't know. Like at the end of the day, I still think Weibo probably take the series, but it's just more of a dart throw. I think there's more avenues for the LGD players to get there, specifically in a DraftKings style format. Again, a dart throw. They are plus 600 on the money line. Like it is a dart throw, but I do think it is one worth venturing if you are in need of something that you know, a big underdog like that. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. So yeah, we'll move over to the LCK before we get out of here. Again, from a DraftKings standpoint, or from like a total standpoint, not the greatest, but I think the numbers maybe are kind of underselling it a little bit. I mean, it's at a 23.75. That's not that bad. Especially if you compare it over to the LCK games. Like you could definitely make a case for having Weibo and LGD exposure. Like it's definitely a pretty solid game, and even if you wanted to, I don't know, we'll talk about some like roster construction stuff maybe towards the end, but I think you could definitely like try and stack up top esports and then have like a one-off of an LGD player and just hope that they absorb a lot of kills and they have an okay enough score. Like there's ways I think you can try to get some salary savings from like an LGD side without having to like fully commit to it. So you know, I think there's avenues there. Over in the LCK, we do have the first series, Fredit Brion versus KDF. Honestly, at first glance, I'm pretty surprised to see this this money line here of KDF minus 240. So KDF have not been looking good as of late. They did take a game off of T1, but they've been losing pretty much to everything else. You know, the first round robin ended with them. You know, I guess they took a couple games over Fredit Brion and KT. Obviously, these losses to like Live Sandbox and Dom1 and T1 are not the worst, but I feel like we've definitely seen some better performances from Fredit Brion as of late. Obviously, started with their 2-0 over Nongshim. They played a close series to DRX and T1. They lost to Dom1 here as well. So again, not the worst ones here, but overall, I think this series is pretty close. And minus 240 plus 190. Do I want any exposure in DraftKings? Probably very, very little, if any. I do think they are going to be very. Actually, they're not even that cheap. Depending on where you go, I guess maybe it is cheaper. Like Delight at 4.6. I don't know. Umpty's not the cheapest. Maybe a Fredit Brion top lane. Maybe 80 carry. Henna's pretty cheap here. So. I think there are some possibilities here. I think maybe looking at like a Fredit Brion, even their team slot at 4.6 is not too lovely. So I don't know. You know, the numbers here are pretty bad. This team KDF is statistically even slower than Fredit Brion. But I don't know, just when you have like a slate so boring and uninteresting, I think I don't know, the possibilities and kind of variance that you could embrace just kind of goes very open. Like I think something like this would probably be a no, like 9 times out of 10, like on any other slate. But just because of the slate, how, you know, we have a lot of big favorites. There's not a lot of great spots. There's not a lot to love on the slate. So it's like, why not? Might as well just take a small shot with Fredit Brion. in a series with KDF. I think overall the series is going to be very low owned. It makes sense why it seems like a very very bad spot for both sides, but it's relatively low level. It's happening in the LCK where randomness seems like it's at an all time high. Um, who knows? Maybe this is just one of those games that goes like 50 minutes. Fred and Brion win one too many team fights, and all of a sudden they're at like a respectable underdog score. Maybe they win this series 2-1. They have one game that's pretty good. They have a couple okay games. They put up like 70, 80 DraftKings points as an underdog, which is maybe enough. I just see the avenue for it to happen, and they're probably going to be like sub 10%, sub 5% maybe. I don't know. I'm not good with ownerships, but I don't know. I'm willing to open my mind up a little bit with this one, and I think this spot makes sense. Like statistically, very very slow. At best a secondary stack, but I think it's something I'm willing to take the shot on. The other one up in the LCK is Damwon versus KT. Damwon have been playing pretty shakily as of late. They barely took the series over Hanwha, and they got swept, or they lost again to DRX. That's 2 times this year that they've lost to DRX. Barely took over the series versus Hanwha. Then they have the wins over Nongshim, KDF, and Bro. It's been pretty uninspiring for Damwon as of late. I definitely think you could make a case for going to the KT side. Actually, now that I think about it, this underdog pick actually doesn't seem that crazy to me either. So we do have KT who played T1 pretty close, but we know that's not too impressive. We know T1's been dropping these games, pretty decently as of late. KT barely took the series over Nongshim, but who knows? Nongshim's so up and down at the moment. Like, how much does that even matter? But they've been looking relatively clean over like a win over DRX, 2-0 over KDF, 2-0 over Hanwha. They've been getting these wins fairly consistently over these low level teams. So it doesn't seem that far fetched to say, KT Rolster has not been that far behind everywhere else, especially since they made this mid lane swap to Vikla. They've been looking pretty decent. Obviously, we know some of the underdog or some of these players have insane condensed kill shares, like from aiming, and we know the participation can be up there from some of the other players as well. So, geez, sorry, I did not expect my throat to be giving out this quickly. But Damwon just has been pretty shaky. Again, LCK feels wildly random at the moment. We just saw them look very unclean their past couple series. KT I don't think is that bad. The shot is worth taking. Like I feel okay a little bit mixing in some Fred and Brion. Okay mixing some KT Rolster. Okay mixing in some LGD. I'm honestly not there with Top Esports TT. I feel like Top Esports is too clean to where even if TT like pull out a game or something like something unexpected, I don't think that would ever be enough. But we've definitely seen enough sloppiness from the other 3 favorites to where I think the avenue is a little bit more open, like from Weibo, from Damwon, and from KDF. Obviously, the kind of small elephant here is with the blue side selections. Damwon, Top Esports, and Weibo all get the blue side start, which does not bode well for the underdog picks in those series. Although I'm not too worried with how it goes down in the LCK. It's not quite as pronounced. The LPL's blue side is definitely much different. And obviously we saw that slightly change yesterday. I believe we saw a good amount of red side victories yesterday. I guess mainly it was just the Ultra Prime IG series. I think BLG FPX picked red here, which is just diabolical. But yeah, I don't know. There's just not much to love here. Like, if this was a more traditional slate, which for most of you guys maybe should and could be, maybe you guys didn't get the tickets like I did. Maybe your thought process is a little bit different on it. I think maybe you could, make make the case to try and mix in like some Fredit Brion, a small amount, some KT Rolster, a small amount, some LGD, a small amount, with like a top esports. I think that does make sense. However, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe just take the night off or something. That's honestly not a bad idea either. But I have these tickets. I want to use them. I'm not too afraid to just turn them into dart throws. Hope one of my underdogs come through, and hopefully I think I get the right combo matching up with these top esports, who I think it should be is deservedly of probably the most owned spot on the slate, with a lot of good reasons. So yeah, as always, I do leave the the link to this player search in the description. So if you guys want to search your own teams, definitely feel free to. But I'm going to search 12.12 and 12.13 patches. For teams, I am going to put Fredit Brion. I'm going to put KT Rolster. I'm going to put Top Esports, and I'm going to put LGD. Again, do I really think any of these underdogs are probably going to win this series? Probably not. I could definitely see one of these LCK teams winning the series. It wouldn't shock me, but for in terms of like picks and stuff, I'd probably just pick all four of the favorites. But that's not what we're here for. That's not what we're trying to do. So I don't know. So I don't know. This is where like I guess money line difference and DK dart throws are different. But at the end of the day, I'm just going with top esports, mixing them, matching with these underdogs, and yeah, that'll be it. So obviously we talked about this briefly during the KT series, but life and aiming, their numbers as this KT Rolster bottom lane is pretty insane. Aiming's 80% kill participation and 45% kill share is absolutely insane. So I'd expect him to be pretty popular, but still relatively unpopular. He is a plus 260 underdogs. So that's not that bad. Obviously, we do see something pretty decent still from the likes of the Fredit Brion side with like Henna Delight, a little bit of Umpty. But obviously for top esports, it's Mark, it's Knight, Jackie Love, Tiana's a little bit far down there. Wayward is definitely very far down there. For top laners, it's not great really anywhere. Maybe Rascal, 63%, not the worst. Morgan at 60%, not that bad either. Fearness, if you are going down that route, I do think, the Shy in that matchup of the Shy and Fearness, it should definitely be pretty the Shy favored. But we know the Shy's downside when it comes to him having a bad game. He could give up a lot of deaths, and maybe you get a very you get an anomaly game where Fearness picks up way too many kills, and that's enough. So we're looking for these outlier situations, and I do think that is a situation that is possible. But yeah, I think overall that's kind of be it for me. As uninspiring and not a good episode here, but my throat's kind of given out. The slate isn't very great. It kind of is what it is. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and call it here. That is going to be how I break it down. I don't know exactly how I plan on it, but I'm going to just mix and match some of these underdogs with these favorites, with my tickets that I had from satellites and stuff, and probably call it a night. I'm going to not have too much otherwise, invested in this one. Just as the look and feel of this slate does not feel great. Again, you guys can look at the players and stuff on your own. I'll leave the link. The link is always in the description for how I look this stuff up. So I just like to add the patch in. Um, and yeah, I think that'll be it. So I don't know. Best luck to you guys all out there tonight. Again, not an interesting slate, but maybe you guys can take some inspiration of this. Try and create a unique lineup. Have a throw your name in the hat. Hope your name gets drawn. Maybe you guys can get lucky and win the thing. I don't see why not. Maybe you get it done. So that'll be it for me tonight. Best luck to you guys all tonight. I'll probably see you guys again tomorrow. I think tomorrow we still have the 4 gamers. I don't know. If we go to the 2 gamers tomorrow, then I will be on break, but I think we should be having it almost late. So I'll be seeing you guys next when I see you. Thank you guys for tuning in.